So Ben, we're here for another episode. So, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. How
Good.
many times must
So,
we answer this question?
yeah, so today, um, we're gonna do the topic is goal setting,
Yes!
and I've got some questions for you.
Great.
Because I see you as a person that is very tunnel vision with your goals, but however, you're able to balance other things and do it in a very interesting way. From what I've known about you, I've also read your ebook on the subject. So it'd be good to just dig a little bit deeper, and for the people that don't know, give them more insight about your views on goal setting. So the first question would be, what fundamental principles should individuals consider when setting meaningful and achievable goals?
Some fundamental principles that people should have when setting meaningful goals is one, they have to really want to do it. So it can't come from somewhere else. It can't be because they're trying to please someone. It can't come from a boss at work. It must be from their heart. Like, I really want to have my own house. I really would like to be able to travel the world and not worry about money. Those kinds of, I really want to sort out my relationship with my mum, my dad, my other half, whatever it is. It has to come from here. That's one of the most fundamental aspects of being able to achieve goals. And if you don't have that internal passion or want, then it may happen, it may not happen.
Yeah. No, I had a okay.
Well, there are other principles. So another principle is to be very focused. So don't do several goals at the same time, or in the same category, because you can actually do several goals simultaneously as long as they're in different what we call categories. For example, I can do a spiritual goal and a financial goal and a relationship goal simultaneously. And if they all related to each other, then that makes it even easier. But I can't do 3 financial goals at the same time.
Okay. So, just to dig a bit deep, just to
Shall I give you an example of 3 financial goals at the same time?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Have a holiday, buy your own house, and fund your children's private education. Those are 3 financial goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can only choose one. Which one?
Obviously the house, probably.
Okay, so and then once you've done the house, then you can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If you try to do all 3 at the same time, you get distracted, and it defocuses you.
Obviously, we're gonna go into the fundamental principles a bit more in the sense of there's a certain term for it, and I know what it is, but what's how do you differentiate between short-term goals and long-term goals, and what strategies work best for each?
So there are different kinds of goals. There's lifetime goals, there's long-term goals, there's short-term goals, and there's almost instant goals. Like, my goal for today is to get through my to-do list. So that's pretty easy to do. Yes, assuming my to-do list is easy. Short-term goals might be like within the next month to 3 months. Those are short-term goals. Longer-term goals go past that 3 month term, and so we actually don't talk about short and long. We have short, medium, and long. So you've got medium goals and long-term goals, and long-term goals could be anything up to 5 years. And this is where a concept known as delayed gratification comes into play, because a lot of people want everything now, and when you want everything now, this really it defocuses you, and it causes you to mess up your goals. So delayed gratification might be like you really want a car, like a sports car. But if you buy the sports car, you're going to buy it on hire purchase, you're going to be in debt, and that debt is going to delay the purchase of a house. That's going to delay the purchase of helping your kids go to private education, just to use those three examples. So focus is really, really important. Delayed gratification, passion, these are really strong fundamentals, and making sure that these goals, as we said in under passion, is that these things are what you want to do, not what somebody else has asked you to do.
Okay. In the sense of the short, medium, and long-term goals, is there other parts of it where, okay, the short may be urgent, the other one is more important, maybe the medium, and the long term is, okay, maybe if, hopeful because it's so long term. Like, how do you go about, differentiating each and sort of categorizing them?
So how do I determine each? Well, first of all, I would write down everything that somebody wants to do in their life, their bucket list. Just forget the term goals, just everything that you think you want to do that's going to make you happy. It might be, get married. It might not be get married. It might be travel the world as a single person. Whatever it is. And if you say you want to get married, I'll say, what kind of house do you want to live in? Do you want a car? Like, I don't have a car at the moment because it doesn't suit me. So do you want to have a car? What kind of life and what kind of friends, and where would you live, and where would you travel to? So once I've got all that information, all those kinds of, then we take the longest goal that'll take. So if you say, I'm in my mid-30s, I'm married, maybe. So you're on dual income, and I want to own my own house. That might be the longest term goal for you. If it's like my parents are suffering, my dad or my mum is suffering from Alzheimer's, and I want to find a cure for Alzheimer's by working with a lot of the Alzheimer's charities, then that's like a lifetime goal. I mean, there's people who've been working on this for a while, and there's been extraordinary strides in that world, but it still hasn't happened yet. So those are like lifetime goals, and you may not even succeed. Somebody will build on your work in those kinds of goals.
Okay. Do you feel it's important to bring the right people around you as well as cut off certain people if you feel they're going to affect those
goals?
Oh,
absolutely. We should. And the thing is, when people ask me about what are the fundamental, I'll answer the three things that come off the top of my head, but then I'll be thinking, yeah, and there's this and there's that, and one of the major ones is you need to get away from people who don't support you, or who will gaslight you, or who will delay you in some way. Yeah, unless they're a loved one and you're working with them through. And this is where delayed gratification comes in. But you want to be with people who ultimately get you and really want you to do well in your life. Really want to do well in life. And that's it.
100%. Can you share examples of effective goal-setting framework that have proven successful for individuals in various fields? So, or maybe from your own life as well.
There are so many frameworks for goal setting. You just have to go to Google and say, in fact, I used AI and I said, give me 10 frameworks for goal setting. And it just, then I said, that was easy. Give me 50. And I had 50 frameworks. So there's so many different frameworks. You have to work with what feels best for you. Some frameworks will be better for you and others will cause problems. The most famous framework is the SMART framework, which is it has to be, your goal has to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the majority of people with that framework, it never works out. Normally, it's never timely. Like and this is why I think people need to be a bit more patient with themselves. You know, otherwise they give up on the whole concept of goal setting. They just say it doesn't work. Sometimes it's unrealistic because people are unrealistic. They're super unrealistic in who they are. Some people overestimate their capability. The timeliness can get affected by, like recently I've had several people who've had bereavements in their lives. Yeah. And you know what, a friend, he is super depressed over the passing of his dad. He's not going to pick himself up for the next 2-3 months. Yeah. Which is going to delay anything he's ever wanted to achieve. So it's a great framework, but be nice to yourself. Yeah. Specific, again, is a challenging one. People try and be as specific as possible. For example, I want to go to Bulgaria and spend a month there, getting with the culture in 3 months' time, right? But so that's really specific. But again, as I said, the timeliness might mess it up. Yeah, it's very specific. It's measurable. Yeah, because you can see when you've done it.
Yeah.
It's attainable. It's realistic, but is it timely? And then the timeliness messes up everything else.
Don't you think like some of these stuff is just like, I think you said it before, but it'd be good for you to just double down on it. It's more guidelines than anything. It's not necessarily rules.
I think very, very much it should be guidelines, but a lot of people took it as rules, and that's why it messed them up. It's why a lot more people these days, they set these New Year's resolutions, but they never want to actually take action for them, because in fact some people don't even want to set New Year resolutions or set goals because they're afraid, because it's never worked in the past for whatever reason, for it not being in those guidelines. The other thing, what they found in some of the research on goals, and more particular to corporate goals, but it can affect personal goals, is that people started lying, and cheating, right? Because they'd set this goal, and now their ego is connected to that goal, especially in the corporate world. Oh yeah, no, I've achieved this, I've achieved that, and so they start lying, and you know, they found that some people were taking other people's commissions, for example, and saying, no, that was my customer, and so on. So it became very unhealthy. Goal setting became unhealthy, and I just think the whole corporate system of goal setting is broken. There is something that we've spoken about many times before, which is the compound effect. So if rather than saying, I'm going to get 5 new customers this week, but if you over time you just farmed and use social magnetism to get good connections and start adding value to people, then your customer base will go like this. Rather than but then you don't have solid customer base because you've got 5 new customers, but how much value have you been able to give to them over that time? How deep can you go with them? And then the next week you've got to add 5 more customers and so on. So it's you can only ever be superficial, and someone who spent the time getting to know those people, they may not get the order the first time or the second time, but over time, those people will then become loyal customers to the people who've added that value. And I can share this from experience, because when I was first put into sales, I was not good. I know computer systems. I was one of the first Microsoft engineers in the world, and I would give customers in the 80s, when computers were fairly new, the specific type of system and software they would need, but I wasn't a good salesperson. And so people would sell them really rubbish. And then the customer got locked into them because there's maintenance and stuff. So I would lose those. But over time, the second and third time, they would still use me to advise them, right? Oh, okay, this is how you should do it. And they'd still buy from them. But over time, they would then start buying from me. And that's how I built an area which was traditionally for salespeople not very good. So that's a very different perspective, but it was very much delayed gratification, compound effect of value adding to people, building strong relationships.
In a sense of, you touched on it before regarding timely. They say, there's this common term or phrase where, okay, in order to achieve a goal, you have to put a time frame on it, because that's going to cause you to actually go out there and actually
take action. It's the taking action.
The taking action part. So, because I said it's a guideline before, what you said is a guideline. Do you think that's just a psychological thing in order to, because you put it down, just say that your goal is to get a certain amount of income per month by the year 2026. If that is your goal, and you want to put it the time frame, like, okay, each year I need to be making this amount, and this is how it's going to go up incrementally. I think that's more of a psychological thing to put in there. But if you don't achieve it, that's fine. Like, you have to be okay with, okay, you didn't achieve it, but maybe you got close, or maybe you was halfway there, and it's going to take a little bit longer. I think. Can you just go a bit into your... So
the timeliness aspect is really important for creating an action plan.
Yeah.
So if you want to, because we talk about wealth a lot, I'm just going to talk about wealth here. If you wanted to earn a certain amount in 3 months or a year or 2 years, by having the timeliness, it makes you think, okay, what do I need to do to get to this point? How much do I need to earn, per year, per month, per week, per hour? Okay, what can I do to earn that amount per hour? And then you look at all your skill sets, and then you look at what's available to you, the internet and so on, and how you can create multiple income streams to get that amount.
Yeah.
Or one job. If you sell super yachts, you just need one sale to be a millionaire, right? Yeah. So you the timeliness is very useful from a planning perspective. But as I said, things happen. And it may not happen at that time scale, like you said earlier. Like, okay, it's a guideline, and things happen. You get ill, you have a bereavement, your partner gets ill. Just some things happen. You may even get a windfall. It might happen faster. But the foundation that you've created by creating the action plan because of the timeliness will give you good habits. It will give you, help you compound and grow in your habits and in your intellectual and your emotional awareness of hitting your goal. Does that understand why the timeliness bit is important? Yeah. But you shouldn't get locked into it. It's very important for creating your action plan. You see, the thing is, people think, oh, okay, I've got these goals, I've made them timely, blah, 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 blah. That's it. No. Once you've created the goals, now you have to, okay, these are the goals. Now you need to create the action plan.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Talking about action plan, what is some of the framework of an action plan to go into it? Just as broad strokes as it can be, without giving actual.
I always like working with examples for action plans,
Sure.
And they're different for different people. So I'm going to make up one. I'm going to make up an impossible goal, which people are working on, like Elon Musk and Richard Branson, on getting to space. So in terms of, I don't know what they've actually done, because I haven't researched them here. But if it was myself, I would say, okay, I want to get to space. What do I need to do? I need to have a vehicle. I need a vehicle that not space. I want to go to Mars. I need this amount of power, speed. It needs to be habitable, and so on. So I'll have all these different concepts. Then I'll take each of the components, which are easy to do, relatively. Like, okay, we know how to make a spacecraft habitable by creating these oxygen tanks. Can we also make these spacecrafts with these oxygen tanks create more oxygen? So it'll be self-sustaining with oxygen, because we don't know. Things happen. Maybe a meteor hits, or you have to avoid something, and there's years of delay in the journey.
Okay.
So I'm breaking down each concept now into, okay, these things are now available. So let's put those components in. And now let's work at the ones that are perhaps slightly more impossible. Okay, so how much speed do we need to give the aircraft enough power to get into orbit? Okay, which they've done already. All these different pieces. Okay, now the next piece would be, I need an aircraft that can carry X amount of people to a planet and allow those people to get off the assuming the planet is habitable. Yeah, we need to also have a number of set of tools for them to now create living on that planet. Do you see? I'm kind of like breaking it down, and then even those bits I'll break down further. So back to the oxygen component, I'll be thinking, okay, this is what we have today. So give me all the components, give me the manufacturers, and let's find out the time scale that they can get these pieces to me by. And that's one part of the puzzle solved.
Okay, so regarding that particular framework, could you give me the example where you've done it to achieve your personal goal?
Yeah.
Or, because I remember...
So in the ebook on goal setting, I actually use the example of a property. And I keep chunking it down. The big thing of renovate a property, which seems really massive to some people, especially if it's quite dilapidated. Then we break it down and we break it down and break it down. So and this concept it's not my concept. It's called chunking down. Yeah, where you just take a big project and you chunk it down into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, and then you build a time scale around doing those pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you do it to assemble, where you are, where you've been able to get multiple streams of income and be financially free? How did you go about that? Because I know there was a point where you said, okay, by this age, I'm gonna make sure,
which I missed, but
that's my point.
But it still set me on that path, and it created those income streams for me to hit it later on. So the goal was, and I'm not saying it's a good goal, but for me, because I was considered at that time a nobody, so for me, it was an achievement that I guess people would say, oh, look, yeah, this guy is a nobody and he's made it somehow. So there's a bit of ego there. Yeah, or maybe I just needed to prove to myself or the world that I can do stuff. So I just thought about all the ways that people could become a millionaire, and then how can I make it sustainable? So there are easy components when I was doing this, if you like, not puzzle, but this exercise. So pensions. In those days, if you put in a certain amount into a pension, you could guarantee to be a millionaire by the age that I was targeting. So that was one component. The next one is, okay, how can I get income from money I save? And that's something else. I mentioned delayed gratification early on, right? That means delayed gratification, not buying the supercar that you want, buying a second-hand car, not buying the best absolute clothes, not buying loads of Armani suits, just going and getting something that you look good, but it's really, or going to the second-hand shop, because there's a lot of very new stuff in second-hand shops. People don't realize this. Practically brand new, where somebody's been given something for Christmas, some very rich person didn't want it, and because they're so wealthy, they just give it to charity. So you can get really good clothes without buying them new. Cutlery, furniture, all of that stuff that you potentially might need. In my first property when I got married, we didn't have any furniture. A lot of stuff was donated to us. Yeah, got a dining room table, got chairs, all donated. Now, this is the other thing. You can't be proud. You can't be wanting to look like next door. You can't be wanting to go to the pub every day with your friends. It's another sacrifice. If you are going to attain achievable financial goals. And this is, again, all delayed gratification. Once you've achieved those goals, yeah, do it. Go and buy the fancy car when you can pay for it without buying it on... This is another thing. People say, well, I can get it on a hire purchase. I can have it now. But that debt is going to delay yourself, and it gives you unnecessary stress, really. I've always looked at hire purchase on cars, but when I've bought them second-hand and new, I've just bought them outright. Yeah. Buy new, I buy showcase cars. So I get a massive discount because they've been used already. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting regarding delayed gratification. I always say that, you can't always try to impress people around you if you're on your mission. Complete your mission, or at least get to where you need to get to. And if you want to, like you say, show off at that point, then do so. But on that journey, there's a lot of discipline and sacrifice that's involved while you're trying to attain those goals.
Yeah, discipline is very important.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, because of that discipline and those habits over time, as you achieve your goals, you feel less and less a need to impress other people. And if you have to impress other people, probably you need to work on yourself. Yeah. And find out why you need to impress them and deal with that. And if people need to be impressed by you, get rid of them. Yeah. You're not there to compete with them. You're there to compete with you. You're there to create your own dream life. That's it.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, let's just think about this moment now.
No, it's 100% what you're saying there, because just digging into my own experience has always been like, okay, initially I want to impress people, but once you impress them, so like, okay, you did all of that, you used to do that, but that's just a moment where they're impressed, and maybe they see you a bit differently because of what you could do for them, but it's not really what you truly want. Like once you get there, so you might as well just do it for you. And for more sort of virtuous reasons.
Well, look, here's the other problem. If people think of you in a certain way, like the people who thought I was a loser, even when I achieved stuff, they still thought I was lucky.
Yeah.
And it's not your talent, it's not your skill, it's not your focus, it's not your drive, it's not your discipline. You were just lucky. So you really don't want to be trying to impress these people, because they'll always think that of you. It wasn't until decades and decades later, when it was impossible for them to say it was lucky, that some people said, oh, wow, yeah, just really well done, But by then, those people were way out of my life.
Yep.
And they reached out to me. They were just not in my world.
Yeah, and it's usually when, like I said, when they need you, or they sort of, maybe come to a part a time period in their life where they're a bit more humble and they could.
They might. We don't know their journey, as you say, and sometimes they need you either to validate themselves. Oh, I'm with Al Roy. He's that billionaire. I used to go to school with him. All that kind of stuff. Or maybe they've just gone on their own journey. There was this guy who used to bully me at school. I didn't. And I met him again, and it was very funny. Because it was a reunion. And I don't know why, but in the restaurant, they put me opposite him and his wife. And he said, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, no, I remember you used to bully me. No, I didn't, he said. Anyway, he bought me my dinner. He bought me drinks. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So obviously he knew and had a certain amount of regret about that. Well, we were all kids then. We were living to whatever society or whatever our parents were doing to us. I have no clue. Things happened.
100%. 100%. Okay, going back to what you were saying before, in your experience, what role does motivation play in the pursuit of long-term goals, and how can one maintain it over time?
Okay, so motivation is very, very important, and you have to have it internally. You have to have it, and if you don't have it internally, nobody can give it to you. I have friends who are really great fans of Tony Robbins, and they go to his events, and they come back pumped up, really pumped up. Or they go to Grant Cardone. I'm going to 10x my income. And anyway, a month later, what's going on? Oh, yeah, well, this happened and that happened. Okay, a year later. No, I'm still dealing with this. And there's no motivation. It has to come internally. And there are things that you can do to keep that motivation going by surrounding yourself with people who are interested in you doing well. So, for example, I had a chat with a friend of mine, Hussein, a few days ago, and he's saying, how is that hotel of yours going? And I said, well, it's not, and probably I won't do it. And then I was reminded me of then he reminded me of a wonderful deal in Greece. And I said, well, maybe we can do a hotel, but we have to do it together. I don't know if I've got the energy anymore. And besides, with all the properties that I've had or been part of, the biggest being 40 student property, it's been like a hotel. A wonderful relative of mine said, Ben, you don't need to have a hotel. Over your lifetime, you've had all these people in your various properties, which has been like a hotel. So some of the goals that you have may change, and that's okay too. That's really okay. But for you to keep having that motivation, you need to have people like my friend who remind me of my goals, check up on me every so often, see how I'm doing. And it's okay for you to decide, today this is too much hassle for me. I've got different goals now, because we all evolve and change. Yeah. So don't get locked into I said I'd do this, I need to prove it to the world kind of thing, but I'm not really passionate about it anymore.
What keeps you motivated still?
What keeps me motivated? Doing interesting things. That keeps me motivated. Creating new stuff. I think I've said this on previous interviews. I could probably have been a multi-millionaire if I just stayed doing one thing. But my personality gets very bored. It's better for me to create multiple income streams, not be like a super trillionaire kind of person. And do new things and create new things. So, I think you've been a part of some of these new things, like having a number one spoken word song, and At the moment, I'm in a play. I haven't done a play for decades, really. So you saw me experimenting with rapping. Yeah, that keeps me motivated. Now, oh yeah, blah blah blah. Now, how can I do this faster? How can I help other people do it now? All right, now I'm bored with it. Can I hand it over to somebody else? It's like, and this is, as you know, I outsource so much stuff that I've created, but now I've helped it fly. I want to go and make other things fly. Some of, I've got a trail of failures behind me, as well as a trail of successes. And the failures normally, because I like working with people, I've chosen the wrong people to do things with, or something's gone wrong with their personalities, or I haven't recognized the amount of trauma and brokenness in someone, and had to just leave them.
So it's never yourself or a lack of motivation that gets in the way. It's the individuals that you decided to collaborate with, or set up businesses with, or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Well, I would say it's my fault for not recognizing those personality issues. I wouldn't blame them. It really is my fault. One, when I was very young, I wanted to help family members, and it's not a good thing because they become entitled, and then they spin out all kinds of stories. So over time, I've got better and better, and sometimes, I've invested a few years ago 30 grand, and that's because I said I would do it, and I really shouldn't have done it. I feel some of the people have been abusing that finance. If you're hearing this and you think it's you, no, it isn't. I know I do lots of 30 grand stuff. So, and that doesn't mean everyone here listening to this should come and ask me for 30 grand. Because honestly, today I feel that my money is better looked after by me. And everyone else seems to be very good at losing because they haven't built great habits.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think one goal that everyone in business or who wants to be financially free should have as an immediate goal is to learn about finances, learn about passive income streams, pay for yourself to go on courses or go on a YouTube course and learn about these concepts. Yeah. Because today I just don't want to invest with people who don't have or haven't learned good financial habits.
Yeah.
And who haven't learned to walk away from people who just drain you.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because, if the person's got these bad habits, then it's gonna spill over at points with the business that you do with them.
Yeah.
And at some point, well, that's what I found anyway. Going into the next question that I had. What advice do you have for individuals who struggle with prioritizing their goals and managing competing objectives? So I think it's the overlap.
What advice do I have?
Yeah.
I grow up.
Yeah.
Who are you trying to please? You or other people? Yeah. So, unfortunately, my dad, he's helped a lot of people, but he never looked after himself. And today he has so many regrets, so many. Yeah. It's just very sad. And that's part of growing up, is to try and understand. I did silly things. I lent my car to someone who crashed it. Wrote it off, but he didn't need to do that. He had his own money, but I just thought, he doesn't have enough money. I made the same mistakes my dad did. Yeah. And people just have to think about their own finances and stop trying to look good. Yeah. To other people. Yeah.
No, 100%. Just segue there is a point where sometimes the hardest people that you have to sort of separate from, in the sense of try to attain your goals, can be your partner, right? So you'll say that you have great financial literacy, but your partner hasn't, and they're very careless with money,
Yeah.
and you're always taking them out of a hole.
Yeah.
What point is there where is there a cut-off point? Is there a point
I mean,
where
you have to have a conversation with
Yeah.
them and set up a joint account and say, this is the money, and we're going to have to separate our finances if this continues. So you're going to have that hard conversation with them, and this is a recommendation for people who are just starting out in relationships, that when it's all new and everything, you're totally attracted to each other, but somewhere along the way you have to have a financial conversation and find out whether your goals are the same. Maybe it's to own your own house, maybe it's to travel the world and just rent, whatever it is, but everything has to be sustainable. Yeah. And you might have to have a hard conversation. I can't, I want to be with you, but while this is going on, because it's like an addiction. It's like alcoholism or trying to look good in front of others, or a drug addiction or gaming addiction, whatever it is, it's an addiction. If you've got sufficient finances to allow them to do that, brilliant. Yeah, great. And you guys get on this, brilliant. If you don't, then it's going to hurt you. Yeah. And you're going to end up very sad later on, because what happens when you don't have the money that will support your partner anymore? Will the partner leave you? Or maybe it's a good thing. Maybe your partner, because they love you so much, will man up and go and get a job. Maybe you've got some illness. I mean, so many people still have long COVID. Is that a thing? I don't know. But they've got something that's affecting them, that affects how much they can earn, because some of them haven't gone back to work.
No, 100%.
Anyway, so to answer your question, at some point you're going to have a conversation about this.
Okay, so you wouldn't do the dramatic thing of, like as we said before, sort of cutting off those sort of people if they're going to affect your.
If they're your life partner, that's a different. With family members, that's difficult, but easier. But if it's someone you're married to, that's a very different. Because you said they're spending your money.
Yeah, so that's an example. But you'll say that there's, they're affecting your actual goals. So if it ain't money, then it could be like, okay, one of your goals is to have, to do this or do that in your career, or whatever it may be. Whatever your goal is, if they're a hindrance to that, is there a point where you just say that you've already had that conversation? Is it best to just be like, okay, if they're still hindering it now?
Okay, so just for example, you want to have a stable relationship.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. So over time, you're going to have to get rid of or limit the amount of time you spend with people who want to go out and have lots of different relationships, because you're not interested in that world anymore. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Your world is that, and look, it's great. I like the fact that you're seeing all these people, but that's not my world at the moment. Yeah. We can talk about other things, or you can just say, can we talk about other subjects? I don't know whether that helps answer your question. And it's a hard thing, because some of these people you would have been going out with until you found someone that, hey, you want to spend, the rest of your life with, have kids with, and so on. So they could mess up your goal, or people who constantly want to buy the latest and greatest, and you just want to, grow your own world. And if they're constantly saying to you, come on, you can afford it. Yeah, but you don't want to buy it. You want to save up. You don't want to buy the latest mobile phone. But it's only $1,000. You can afford $1,000. Dude, I'm happy with my phone.
Yeah.
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 I want to save my money for something. Come on, all play and no, all work and no play makes you a boring person.
Yeah.
Dude.
No, because the reason why I said that is because you digged into your own life, and you was at one point you had your partner, who's gave birth to your children, and you were saying at that point when you was first moving into a new place, you had to, like, other people had to give
Yeah, that's right.
furniture and this and that
Yeah.
and third. You're saying that she didn't have that, she wasn't supportive in that sense.
Oh no,
In a
she actually she was great.
No, that's what I'm saying.
She's
She was
she's
great.
actually a really frugal person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if like a lot of people, they choose wrongly, like, or wrong, I should say.
Yeah.
And they may choose someone that hasn't got.
But that's a life partner, and
Yeah,
and it
so-
isn't necessarily their life partner's fault. It depends on how they've been growing up. Were they given everything, and do they have to work for their own stuff? And that's where you have to have that conversation. They'll have to recognize, or they'll have to think, no, I want a very wealthy person, and I want to be supported by that person.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so then you'll have to part ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, you have to be on the same path in a sense of what you're trying to achieve, and them understanding
Yeah.
that, okay, at this point we have to borrow furniture or get furniture from as gifts from people,
Yeah.
and then down the line, them believing in you, you're able to achieve X, Y, and Z. Because I guess that
Yeah,
would
I
have hindered you if she from the get go she was like, no, I want you to buy it brand new. I
Yeah.
want this.
Oh yeah,
That's
it
what
would.
I'm
It
trying
would.
to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it would definitely hurt you long term.
Yeah.
And there are a few people I know who were like that in their early relationships. They're no longer with their partner. Yeah, because they just. Yeah, I don't know what goes through their head. Yeah.
100%. So, what are the common pitfalls or mistakes people make when setting goals, and how can they avoid them?
Okay, the common pitfalls when setting goals. Setting too many goals is a common pitfall. Remember, I said you need to focus on one goal in one category. So too many goals in one category is just not going to happen. And so they become defocused because they're trying to achieve too many things at the same time. Another pitfall is being, I mean, we've mentioned some of these already, being with people who don't support you, because you're just not going to sit. It's just not going to happen. If you hang out with people who are spending all the time, they'll be getting you to eventually spend, or you'll feel guilty because they're all buying you a round of drinks and you never buy anybody a round of drinks. So it's just not going to work. Yeah. Those are, I'm trying to think of things that are not to do with what we've spoken about, like being defocused and all that kind of stuff. Not having the ability to chunk things down. Yeah, that's, break things into smaller goals. Being deluded. I meet so many well-meaning but very delusional people who will argue with me stupidly. These days I don't even argue. I just say good luck to them. I just like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. Okay, good luck. Yeah, no, really, I when you hit it, I will buy you a drink. Yeah.
And is there any more that you could think of that sort of applies to, because I'm sure, like you said, there's so many different pitfalls, but beyond just financial, you sort of touched on the main ones, I guess, in a sense of pitfalls, but would you say there's any more?
Discipline is a major one. I mean, it sounds really boring. It's like focus, discipline, being around people. Do you know the two most common New Year's resolutions.
What's that?
Do you know what they are?
No.
Which categories?
Probably fitness
Yes,
and
that's the top
and
one.
financial.
Yes, those are the two top.
Yeah.
All those are the two ones that, and everyone fails at. You know, we know there's an 80% failure in New Year resolutions, which is fitness and finance, and both of those require focus, discipline, and that discipline is setting a time if it's fit to exercise and keeping to it. Yeah, and if you miss one, don't miss the next one, because now you're going to start developing a habit of missing, and then you won't go back to it. And the same with finance. And it's so easy with the busyness of life to not be disciplined.
100%. 100%. In the sense of how to approach setting ambitious but realistic goals, like what would be the best approach? You know, is it to get outside of your comfort zone? Like, you know, what do you think is the best approach?
So it depends on what you mean by an ambitious goal. You know, I had a goal to learn to dance, right? I didn't hit any time scales because I was not very good. I have 100 left feet, really. You know, and some people know, and which has been in some of the interviews, that my friends are out of beginners after 3 months, and I'm still in beginners 2 years later. And it's really simple stuff. Yeah, like with rapping, you when you were giving feedback, you're saying you're not hitting the beats on time, Ben. That's the same thing with my dance. But eventually I got there, you know, a long time later on. And that's just discipline. That's me going every day, not minding people telling me how useless I am. By the way, that's another important aspect, is the ability to take feedback, right, and not get defensive. And it's this ability. You don't need to get defensive when someone says you're useless. That's not really good feedback, because it doesn't say why you're useless. If they say you're useless because you're not getting the timing correct, and actually that's another component of feedback for goals and achieving goals. If somebody gives you some feedback, ask them, okay, yeah, I can see how I can be useless at this timing. What exercises would you recommend I do to get good at timing? Yeah, so don't just accept that and think, okay, I'm useless to that, and like this is going to be the me for the rest of my life. Ask them how did you get it? Well, I was a natural. Okay. If you weren't a natural, how would you learn? How would have your friends who aren't naturals, how did they learn timing? And then maybe do those kinds of things. So that's another important component. In fact, we don't talk about feedback enough. Too many people think you're just being negative, right? No, I'm giving you feedback. Yeah, I'm giving you, and it's up to you to take it. Yeah, you could buy coffee to be more hospitable to your guests, you know. And people can take their feedback or not, and they take it. That's great. And then their guests love them more and more, and they think, oh, this is great. Glad I took the feedback. Or no, I don't like these people anyway. They annoy me. So I'm not going to get them coffee when they come round. Hopefully they won't come round anymore. Anyway, it's this ability to take feedback. And I remember being with this person who I would give feedback to. And they not only took the feedback, but they built on it and made it better. They started doing better than me. Like, I never thought of that. That is someone who's able to achieve goals, because they can take that feedback and then build on it.
100%. 100%. Can you provide insight into the process of breaking down larger goals into manageable, actionable steps.
You mean like the chunking down that we
Yeah.
spoke about before?
Yeah, so provide insights into it. Like, give me an example where you had to do that.
So property, I've had to do that a lot. My finances, I've had to do that a lot by creating lots of different ways to bring income. It wasn't just, high interest accounts. It wasn't just writing books. And later on, when I had money, investing in property. But I was also investing in these kind of different kinds of funds, which after 5 or 10 years, it would give me this amount. This one fund that I invested for my kids. And it said, okay, after 5 years, if it gets this much, then we will give you this much. Anyway, they did it in 2 years and they had to give me all my money back plus all that stuff. It was a brilliant fund. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a whole bunch of stuff. And I thought, how can I get a large sum every 3 years? Or every year, actually, I worked it out. But this is thinking when I was in my 20s. So I was thinking, okay, when I'm, I don't know, mid-30s, how can I get a large chunk every year? So I started looking at these 10-year and 15-year plans that would mature.
Yeah.
And I started one every year. And so I was putting money into each one. So for I forgot about this actually till you spoke about it. So for about 5 or 6 years, I was getting like 60, 70, 80, 100 grand every year from these maturing plans.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But that again is that delayed gratification
Yeah.
that was happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So that again, that was chunking those big goals down. Okay, I want to have this, and how do I make being financially free sustainable, and so on. So it wasn't just creating that passive income, but also having maturing plans. There was lots of things that it's great, these kind of interviews, because you forget what you did in the past.